Chapter 1: Shadows of Transcendence, Naruto's Awakening. Flashback begins. The forest of death loomed, a dense canopy of shadows and anticipation. The second round of the Chunin exams had begun, and the Hidden Leaf Village's hopes and fears hung upon the young ninja. Naruto Uzumaki moved through the arena, his every step instinctive, unaware of how drastically the night would alter his fate. In the distance, a cold figure observed from the shadows. Orochimaru, the forsaken disciple of the third Hokage and master of forbidden jutsu, had been waiting for this moment. His gaze settled on Sasuke Uchiha, his eyes glinting with perverse curiosity. The boy was a potential vessel, a key to unlocking the secrets of the Uchiha clan. Orochimaru's plan was precise, a cursed seal to bind Sasuke's fate to his dark ambition. Naruto, ever impulsive, stumbled upon the confrontation. The cursed mark was applied in a swift, silent motion, its malevolent energy burning against Sasuke's skin. Naruto's instincts flared. Without thinking, he lunged to protect his teammate. "What the? Sasuke? That mark? This isn't good!" he shouted, his voice echoing through the dense forest. Orochimaru's amber eyes narrowed, noting the sudden change in Naruto. The boy's body had been suppressed by a hidden seal placed to lower his intelligence, making him docile and easy to control. Yet the five-element seal Orochimaru applied to Naruto, intended to suppress his chakra, disrupted this seal. A flicker of awareness ignited within him, subtle at first, but spreading like wildfire. His thoughts sharpened, his instincts calculating beyond the comprehension of a normal genin. An unfamiliar knowledge stirred in him. Hand signs, instinctive and precise, formed at his fingers, as if a hidden memory had awakened. Naruto did not yet know what he was doing, but the 10-shadow technique coursed through his subconscious, echoing like a forgotten echo in a dream. Orochimaru's grin widened as he watched Naruto writhe under the combined force of the five-element seal and the cursed seal of heaven. The boy was an anomaly, a vessel whose suppressed intellect now struggled against a rising tide of primal instinct. The seals within him clashed violently, producing a chaos of energy that threatened to tear his body and soul apart. Naruto's physical form began to betray his transformation first in subtle ways. His nails lengthened into sharp, claw-like points, glinting in the dim forest light. His once boyish frame stiffened with a newfound tension, muscles coiled and responsive. Every nerve, every fiber, seemed alert to threats he could not yet name. The air around him shimmered, alive with the chaotic resonance of his awakening. Orochimaru's mind raced with possibilities. The boy is no longer merely a vessel of the Nine Tails. He is something entirely new, an amalgamation of power, instinct, and intellect, partially suppressed and now awakening. Fascinating, dangerous. Nearby, Sakura knelt beside the unconscious Sasuke and Naruto, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. The cursed seals marked their skin, symbols of the perilous ordeal they had endured. Her thoughts whirled. How did it come to this? We were supposed to work together to protect each other. She gathered what she could from the forest, setting up rudimentary traps to buy them time. The tension in the trees mirrored her own growing unease. Dosu, Kin, and Zaku, handpicked by Orochimaru, moved silently, their eyes scanning for any sign of the marked ninja. Orochimaru seeks to measure the true potential of those bearing the cursed mark, Dosu mused. This is not merely a test. It is a hunt, and we are the hunters. Before the sound genin could act, a green blur streaked between the trees. Rock Lee, his spirit undeterred by the imminent danger. He positioned himself protectively between Sakura and her assailants. "You cannot interfere," Zaka shouted, swinging toward Lee, but the suddenness of the attack left him vulnerable. Lee countered with a flurry of precise strikes, though Dosu's hidden sound wave soon tested the limits of his senses. Sasuke awoke, his cursed mark pulsing with dark energy. His Sharingan flared, two tomo spinning as he assessed the chaotic battlefield. His gaze fell on Naruto, who now writhed slightly, the claws on his hands catching the faint light. A dark aura pulsed from him, almost sentient, casting shadows across the clearing. Sakura called out, her voice trembling, "Sasuke, help Rock Lee!" Sasuke's eyes flickered with concern, though the cursed mark's influence tugged at his thoughts, whispering the promise of power and blood. In a fluid motion, he intervened against Zaku, incapacitating him with unnerving precision, his Sharingan reflecting both strategy and lethal intent. Meanwhile, Naruto's internal struggle reached a climax. The disrupted seal allowed his suppressed intelligence to rise gradually, and with it came the awareness of his emotions. The fear, the rage, the frustration he had buried under years of loneliness. The Ten Shadow technique whispered in his mind, instinctively guiding his hands into formations he could not yet name, preparing for a power he had yet to understand. A subtle crimson glow began to radiate from his eyes, veiling the forest in an otherworldly light. His aura stretched beyond the physical, whispering of the malevolence within the Nine Tails, the residual energy of the Reaper Death Seal, and the chaos of his own suppressed instincts now breaking free. Naruto's voice, low and unfamiliar, echoed across the trees. Power is not a burden and chaos is not a curse. It is freedom. Naruto's laugh echoed through the forest of death, as if daring those around him to challenge his belief. The sound carried weight, a promise and a warning. Around him, the forest of death trembled. Allies and enemies alike could feel the surge of a power that transcended understanding, a force that could not yet be controlled, but was already shaping the battlefield in subtle, terrifying ways. His transformation had begun, not sudden but inexorable. Sharp nails, instinctive jutsu, surging intellect, and unleashed emotion combined to forge something beyond the boy Naruto Uzumaki once was. The Chunin exams had become irrelevant. A new test had begun, one of control, understanding, and survival in the face of an awakening force that even Orochimaru could not fully predict. Chapter 2: Awakening Instincts. Naruto's body shivered as the chaotic energies within him struggled for dominance. The disrupted seal, meant to dull his mind, now flickered weakly across his skin, unable to contain the rising tide of intellect and instinct. He flexed his hands and noticed the sharp points of his nails, glinting like obsidian claws. It was subtle but unmistakable. Instinctively, his fingers formed a sequence of hand signs, motions precise and deliberate, as though guided by some hidden memory. He did not yet know the technique, nor its name, but the chakra responded willingly, pulsing outward, reaching into the earth beneath him. Shadows gathered, writhing and stretching like living entities, coiling around his legs, flickering with intent. In the distance, Shikamaru, ever observant, furrowed his brow. That chakra, it's different, off the charts, and alive. Choji's usual lightheartedness faltered as he stepped closer, eyes wide. It's like it's watching us. Even Ino stiffened, sensing the subtle, almost sentient pulse of chakra. Naruto, what is happening to you? Naruto's voice broke the forest silence, low and resonant, carrying a predatory edge that made even the birds still in the trees. This world, it bends to those who take it. The words were both his and something else, a coalescence of the Nine Tails, the Reaper Death Seal, and the surge of shadows he instinctively controlled. His awareness of the battlefield sharpened. Every tree, every rustle of leaves, every heartbeat of those around him was a calculation. He did not understand the Ten Shadow technique, but his body did. Shadows uncoiled from the ground like black serpents, twisting and curling around the trunks of trees. Some formed crude appendages moving independently, testing their range. Each motion was instinctive, yet terrifyingly precise, as if some other entity whispered guidance to his unconscious mind. Sasuke's Sharingan flared as he took a cautious step back. Naruto, calm down. You're not thinking straight. Naruto's eyes, a crimson glow behind half-lidded lids, flickered toward his teammate. Recognition still existed beneath the growing malevolence, but it was buried beneath layers of instinct and sudden awareness. His voice, a low growl, carried the weight of ancient forces and personal rage. No. I'm seeing. I'm feeling. I am awake. Shikamaru immediately analyzed the scene, folding his arms behind his head. Great. This is so troublesome. That kid isn't just strong, he's dangerous. And I can't even predict what he'll do next. Choji stepped closer to Ino, whispering, I've never felt chakra like this. It's like it's alive, like it's thinking. Meanwhile, the sound genin Dosu, Kin, and Zaku paused, sensing a shift. The confident smirks that had carried them through the forest were gone, replaced by sharp unease. Their eyes followed Naruto as the shadows beneath him stirred, coiling into forms that seemed aware of their presence. Orochimaru, hidden in the treeline, smiled with a mixture of fascination and impatience. Ah, this is far more entertaining than I anticipated. The boy's mind is opening, suppressed intelligence flooding back, instincts guided by an ancient, untamed power. Yes, this is exactly what I was hoping for. Naruto's body twitched, shadows flaring outward with subtle aggression, testing the limits of his control. The claws at his fingertips scratched at the earth absent-mindedly, leaving shallow grooves in the forest floor. He could feel every movement of his chakra, every pattern in the wind, every heartbeat in the vicinity. Yet, beneath the instinct and rising intellect, emotions stirred. Fear, frustration, and rage, all tightly coiled. The boy Naruto still existed, buried beneath the awakening monster and the instincts of the Ten Shadow technique. Sakura, stepping forward cautiously, sensed it immediately. Naruto, don't let it take over. Fight it. Naruto's eyes swept the battlefield, noticing every ally and enemy in a single glance. Though he did not fully understand what he had become, an impulse, primal yet strategic, took root. He needed to protect, to assert control, and to survive. The shadows beneath him moved faster, extending like living chains. One wrapped around a tree, coiling and tightening with pressure that belied its intangible form. Another reached toward the edge of the clearing, probing, sensing. Each motion was instinctive, yet deliberate, as if the forest itself bent to his awakening will. The forest held its breath. Naruto stood in the center of the clearing, his body taut with the energy that surged within him. Shadows stretched across the ground, twisting and moving as if they were alive. They writhed without shape, coiling around trees and creeping along the undergrowth, following his will without hesitation. No one had ever seen anything like it. Shikamaru narrowed his eyes, folding his arms behind his head. What the hell? Those aren't shadows. Not the kind my clan uses. He muttered under his breath, a rare chill running down his spine. The darkness around Naruto pulsed and shifted, seemingly aware of every movement in the clearing. And yet, they're responding to him. He's controlling them somehow. But this isn't a jutsu I've ever seen. Choji stepped closer to Ino, unconsciously backing away from Naruto's coiling aura. I don't like this. It's like it's alive, he whispered. The hairs on his neck prickled. The forest itself seemed unnervingly still, as though holding itself hostage to the boy in the center. Naruto's hands moved on their own, forming intricate sequences of hand signs. He didn't consciously know what he was doing, yet each movement caused the shadows to respond, twisting, extending, and probing the perimeter of the clearing. Even Orochimaru, hidden in the trees, smiled with a mixture of anticipation and curiosity. So, the seal I placed disrupted their suppressor. The boy's mind is awakening, his instincts guiding him toward power he doesn't understand yet. Sasuke's Sharingan flared as he tried to gauge the threat, but even his analytical mind faltered. The crimson light reflected off the shadows, which shifted as though they were living entities. Naruto, what are you doing? He called, his voice edged with fear and disbelief. Naruto's voice answered, low and unnervingly calm. Trying to decide whether or not I should clear out this clearing. Even Sakura stepped back instinctively, her hands raised but useless against the invisible, shifting darkness. Naruto, stop. I don't know what's happening, but this isn't you. The boy's nails, now sharp and claw-like, scraped against the earth, leaving shallow grooves that seemed to pulse with unseen energy. His body tensed, muscles coiling unnaturally, responding to forces he didn't yet understand. The suppression seal had faded to nothing. His mind, body, and instincts were all firing at once. Shikamaru's gaze drifted to the shadows again. They weren't merely extensions of the earth or tricks of light. They moved with intelligence, with purpose, anticipating movement before it happened. "This isn't a jutsu," he whispered. "Not even close. It's alive. Something is inside him, or maybe it's part of him, but whatever it is, it's far beyond anything I know. Far beyond anything we've ever faced." The forest trembled subtly in response to Naruto's presence. Leaves quivered as if whispering warnings, and the air carried an unfamiliar tension, heavy with the scent of ozone and something darker, something predatory. Dosu, Zaku, and Kin hesitated at the edge of the clearing, each sensing the danger without understanding its source. Their confidence had vanished. They were dealing with a force that could not be measured by experience or logic. Even Naruto was unsure of himself. He could feel the shadows respond to his instincts, his emotions, and the chaotic surges of chakra within him. They twisted and lunged without conscious intent, yet their actions were precise, perfectly synchronized with his every thought and impulse. "Are they attacking us?" Ino asked shakily, clutching Shikamaru's arm. The shadows had not struck yet, but the forest seemed to hold a suspended threat, ready to strike at a moment's notice. Shikamaru shook his head, eyes never leaving the shifting darkness. "No, not yet. I don't think he even knows what he's doing. But once he realizes, once he understands what he can do, this is going to get really troublesome." Naruto's breathing slowed, but the aura around him pulsed like a heartbeat. He did not yet understand his powers, did not know the jutsu his hands formed, and could not consciously control the shadow's movements. Yet instinctively, they obeyed him, growing bolder, stretching further, responding to his thoughts and emotions before he could even recognize them. The forest had become a living battlefield, its balance suspended on the edge of a knife. Every ninja in the clearing, ally or enemy, felt it. The boy they thought they knew was gone. In his place stood something new. Instinct, intellect, and darkness fused into a terrifying force of nature. And no one, not even Naruto, yet knew what he was truly capable of. Chapter 3: Echoes in the Forest. The clearing did not breathe. Naruto stood motionless in its center, surrounded by shifting shadows that stretched unnaturally across the ground. The darkness pooled around his feet like ink spilled across parchment, occasionally rippling as though disturbed by an unseen current. Everyone felt it, the pressure. It pressed against their skin, against their lungs, against the instinct buried deep within every shinobi that screamed when something far beyond their understanding appeared. Dosu swallowed. The sound genin had expected to test the bearers of Orochimaru's cursed mark. They had expected resistance, perhaps even ferocity from the Uchiha. They had not expected this. Zaku's broken confidence was plain in his eyes as he slowly pushed himself backward, putting distance between himself and Naruto. The blonde genin hadn't moved since speaking, but the shadows around him were restless. They stretched along the forest floor like living things, creeping toward tree trunks before retracting again. Kin leaned closer to Dosu. We should leave." Her voice was barely a whisper. Dosu didn't answer immediately. His analytical mind tried desperately to process what he was seeing. The boy's chakra was wrong. It wasn't just large. It wasn't just oppressive. It felt layered. Something vast and ancient churned beneath the surface like a storm under the sea. Then there were the shadows. They didn't behave like chakra constructs. They didn't resemble any ninjutsu Dosu had studied. They moved with a strange awareness, adjusting to the environment as though they were observing it. Even worse, they seemed to respond to Naruto's emotions. Dosu slowly stepped back. "This mission is no longer viable," he said quietly. Zaku blinked. "You're quitting."
I'm surviving.
Dosu kept his voice calm, but the tension in his shoulders betrayed him. Lord Orochimaru said to test them, not die here. Naruto's head tilted slightly. The motion was subtle, yet the shadows twitched. That was enough. Dosu turned sharply. "Retreat." Kin didn't hesitate. Zaku cursed but followed. Within seconds the sound genin vanished into the trees, their footsteps fading rapidly into the distance. No one pursued them. For a long moment, the clearing remained silent. Then Sasuke exhaled. His Sharingan still spun slowly in his eyes, tracking the retreating enemies until they were completely gone. "Cowards," he muttered. But he didn't chase them either, because his attention had returned to Naruto. The blonde genin still stood there, unmoving. The crimson glow in his eyes dimmed slightly. The shadows around him loosened, their restless movement slowing. Shikamaru watched carefully. That pressure, it was decreasing. Troublesome, very troublesome. Before anyone could speak again, Sasuke suddenly turned his head sharply toward the surrounding forest. His eyes narrowed. "I know you're there." The words cut through the clearing. Silence followed. Then rustling leaves. Several figures stepped out from the tree-line. Ino, Shikamaru, Choji. Behind them, Team Guy emerged as well. Niji's pale eyes were focused intently on Naruto. Tenten looked uneasy. Sasuke's expression darkened instantly. "You've been watching." It wasn't a question. Shikamaru sighed. "Yeah." Sasuke's jaw clenched. "How long?" Before Shikamaru could answer, Naruto spoke. His voice was quieter now, calmer. "How long were you there?" Everyone's attention shifted to him. The shadows around Naruto had nearly disappeared now, melting back into the ground like nothing had ever happened. Shikamaru scratched the back of his head. "Since the sound ninja showed up." Sasuke's eyes flashed with anger. "You just stood there?" Ino crossed her arms defensively. "We weren't sure what was happening. You watched Sakura fight alone." Sasuke's voice had gone dangerously cold. Sakura froze. Her eyes slowly shifted toward Ino. Ino's expression faltered. She stopped. There was no excuse. Sakura looked down. The hurt was quiet, but obvious. For a moment the clearing felt colder than before. Choji rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. "We were trying to figure out if we should intervene." Shikamaru sighed again. "And we were right to hesitate." His gaze flicked briefly to Naruto. "Things got complicated." No one argued with that. Naruto flexed his fingers slowly. His nails still looked slightly sharper than before, though the change was subtle enough that no one commented on it. Meanwhile, several yards away, Rock Lee groaned. The remaining members of Team Guy rushed to his side. "Lee!" yelled Tenten. Niji knelt beside him instantly, checking his injuries. Lee's balance was still unstable from Dosu's sound attack. Niji's expression hardened. "We're leaving." Tenten blinked. "What? Why?" Niji stood. He glanced once toward Naruto. Only once. "That boy is not an opponent we are prepared to face right now." Tenten didn't argue. She had seen Naruto's chakra earlier. It had been terrifying. Within seconds, Team Guy lifted Lee and disappeared into the trees, running far away from Team 7. Sakura watched them go. Then she turned slowly toward Ino. "Are you leaving too?" The question was soft, but it carried weight. Ino hesitated. For a moment she remembered standing in the trees earlier, watching Sakura fight alone, watching her struggle, watching her bleed. Her chest tightened. "No." Shikamaru glanced at her. "Ino." She shook her head. "We stay." Choji nodded immediately. "Yeah." Shikamaru sighed heavily. "This is going to be troublesome." But he didn't object. They had already chosen. For now, Team 10 would guard Team 7. Naruto didn't react to the decision. But something else was happening. Something no one noticed. The curse mark on his neck was fading. The black flame-like pattern slowly receded into his skin. It didn't vanish completely. Instead, it changed. Deep beneath the surface of Naruto's body, something strange was happening. The cursed seal Orochimaru had placed was not designed for someone like Naruto. It was colliding with the Ninetales chakra, interacting with the remnants of the Reaper Death Seal, grinding against the complex structure of the 8 trigram seal. And now something else, something deeper. The seal began to warp, reshape itself, not dying, evolving, mutating, becoming something entirely new. No one in the clearing realized it. Not Sasuke, not Sakura, not Shikamaru, not even Naruto. Far away, hidden among the trees, Orochimaru smiled. Oh my! His golden eyes gleamed with fascination. What have you become? The next day came quietly. Team 7 and Team 10 traveled together through the forest. Naruto walked beside Sasuke in silence. Neither mentioned what had happened, yet both of them had felt it. The moment when something inside Naruto had awakened. Sakura walked slightly behind them. Ino occasionally glanced at her but said nothing. Choji munched nervously on chips. Shikamaru kept scanning the forest. Then, a voice called out. Well, what an unusual group. Everyone turned instantly. A familiar silver-haired figure stepped out from the trees. Kabuto Yakushi. He smiled pleasantly. Looks like you all survived the night. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Naruto watched him carefully. Kabuto's gaze lingered briefly on Naruto's neck. Interesting. Before anyone could question him, 3 shadows dropped from the trees. Rain Shinobi. Their headbands gleamed under the canopy. We'll be taking your scrolls. The leader grinned. Sasuke moved instantly. Steel flashed. The first attack came from behind Naruto. Kunai aimed straight for his spine. Sasuke intercepted it. Clang. The blades collided. Naruto turned sharply, just in time to see another rain ninja rushing Sasuke. Naruto reacted without thinking. He shoved Sasuke sideways. The enemy's blades sliced through empty air. For a brief moment, the 2 boys stared at each other. Neither said anything, but the message was clear. I've got your back. Then the fight erupted. Ino formed hand signs. Mind-body switch. Choji expanded his arm, slamming one attacker into a tree. Shikamaru's shadow stretched across the ground. But even as it moved, he couldn't help glancing toward Naruto's feet, watching, comparing. Those shadows from earlier, they weren't the same as his, not even close. Sasuke dashed forward with a burst of speed, his Sharingan predicting the Rain Ninja's movements. Naruto followed instinctively. His body felt lighter than usual, sharper, faster. The last Rain Ninja lunged toward Choji, only to be flattened by Choji's human boulder attack. Thud. Silence returned. 3 enemies. Defeated. Shikamaru exhaled. Well, that could have been worse. Kabuto adjusted his glasses calmly. You're all progressing nicely. No one trusted his smile. But there was no time to argue. The tower stood ahead now, rising above the trees. The end of the second exam was finally within reach. Naruto stared at it silently. Inside his body, the mutated seal pulsed once. Quietly, waiting. The true consequences of this transformation had only just begun. And none of them understood what Naruto Uzumaki was becoming. Chapter 4. The Tower of Judgment. The tower loomed over the forest like a silent sentinel. Its massive stone walls rose above the treeline, ancient and imposing. For the genin who had survived the forest of death, the structure represented the end of the second exam. But for Naruto Uzumaki, something about it felt different. He stared at it longer than the others. Something deep inside him stirred. Not fear, not excitement, recognition. A strange, instinctive awareness that he was stepping closer to something important. something that would change everything. Behind him, Shikamaru stretched his arms lazily over his head. Well, there it is. Choji sighed with relief. Finally, Ino glanced at Sakura briefly before speaking. So, do we have the scroll we need? Sakura nodded and lifted the heaven scroll from her pouch. We got it from the rain team. Shikamaru tilted his head toward Sasuke. And you guys had the earth scroll, right? Sasuke wordlessly produced it. Kabuto stood nearby, smiling mildly as always. Then congratulations. You've passed the second exam. But Naruto barely heard them. His attention had drifted inward. The strange sensation in his body had not disappeared since the previous day. If anything, it had grown stronger. The curse mark Orochimaru had placed on his neck had almost completely faded from view. Yet Naruto could feel it, not on his skin, inside, deep in the space where chakra, spirit, and body intersected. Something was changing, something alive. The mutated seal pulsed slowly, like a distant heartbeat. Unknown to Naruto, the curse mark was no longer functioning as Orochimaru intended. Instead of dominating Naruto's body, it was being absorbed into a complex system of seals that already existed within him. The Nine Tails chakra rejected it. The remnants of the Reaper Death Seal distorted it. The 8 trigram seal compressed it. And Naruto himself, his biology, his chakra, even his soul, was reshaping it into something entirely new. The result was unpredictable. Even Orochimaru did not yet understand it. Naruto flexed his hand unconsciously. His nails still seemed slightly sharper than they should have been. Not claws exactly, but close. He frowned faintly. Sasuke noticed. What is it? Naruto glanced down at his hand before shaking his head. Nothing. Sasuke didn't push, but his eyes lingered on Naruto longer than usual, because Sasuke had felt it too. That moment yesterday, the moment Naruto's presence had changed. It hadn't just been powerful. It had been different. The group approached the tower entrance. A massive pair of doors stood before them. Beside them was a small instruction plaque. Kabuto adjusted his glasses and began reading. Teams that possess both heaven and earth scrolls must open them simultaneously inside the tower. Shikamaru groaned. Of course, there's another rule. Choji blinked. Why inside? Kabuto smiled. It's part of the exam. Naruto stepped forward and pushed the doors open. They creaked slowly. Inside was a circular chamber with a raised platform in the center. Team 7 stepped forward first. Team 10 followed. Kabuto lingered near the entrance. Sasuke placed the earth scroll on the platform. Sakura set the heaven scroll beside it. They exchanged a glance, then opened both. A burst of smoke exploded from the scrolls. Everyone instinctively jumped back. When the smoke cleared, a familiar figure stood in the center of the room. Irika Umino. Naruto blinked. Irika-sensei. Irika smiled warmly. Congratulations. You've made it through the forest of death. Sakura sagged with relief. Choji nearly collapsed. Shikamaru muttered something about troublesome exams, but Irika's expression quickly turned serious. However, the second exam ended faster than expected. That caught everyone's attention. He continued. Too many teams survived. Shikamaru frowned. Meaning, the tower doors suddenly opened behind them. Several proctors entered the chamber. At their head stood Hayate Gecko, the sickly-looking jonin who would oversee the next phase. Irika stepped aside. Hayate coughed lightly into his hand. Due to the number of participants remaining, there will be preliminary matches. Naruto tilted his head. Matches? Hayate nodded. One-on-one battles. Sasuke's eyes sharpened. Naruto felt a strange excitement stir in his chest. Not the reckless thrill he usually felt. Something colder, sharper, strategic. His mind was changing. The suppression seal that had dulled his intelligence for years was completely gone now. Every sense felt clearer. Every sound sharper. Every movement easier to track. It was like waking from a long fog. Across the room, Kabuto watched him closely. Very closely. Then Kabuto raised his hand. I'd like to withdraw. Everyone turned. Sakura blinked. Withdraw. Kabuto shrugged casually. I'm exhausted from the forest. Height nodded. Very well. Kabuto stepped back toward the exit. But as he passed Naruto, he leaned slightly closer. Just enough to whisper. You're changing. Naruto's eyes flicked toward him. Kabuto smiled faintly. Be careful. Then he left. Naruto frowned. Sasuke noticed. What did he say? Nothing important. But Naruto wasn't sure that was true. The genin gathered on the arena floor below. Above them stood the Jonin instructors and Hokage representatives. A large electronic board flickered to life. Height spoke again. These matches will determine which participants advance to the final stage of the Chunin exams. The board began to shuffle names rapidly. Naruto watched silently. Inside his body, the mutated seal pulsed again. A faint ripple of darkness spread through his chakra network. Just for a moment. Then it vanished. Shikamaru glanced toward Naruto. He didn't know why, but he still couldn't shake the memory of those shadows. The way they moved. The way they seemed alive. It wasn't his clan's technique. Not even close. It had been something older. Something deeper. Something far more dangerous. The board stopped. Two names appeared. Sasuke Uchiha versus Yoroi Akad. Sasuke stepped forward immediately. Naruto watched him descend into the arena. The battle began quickly. Yoroi attempted to grab Sasuke and absorb his chakra. But Sasuke moved faster. Sharingan predicting every movement. Within minutes, Sasuke finished the fight with a brutal lion's barrage. The crowd above murmured. Naruto grinned faintly. Sasuke returned to the balcony. The board shuffled again. More matches followed. Shino versus Zaku. Kankuro versus Misumi. Sakura versus Ino. Naruto watched Sakura and Ino's fight carefully. Not for entertainment. For analysis. He found himself studying their movements automatically. Predicting attacks. Calculating timing. His mind was adapting rapidly. When the fight ended in a draw, Naruto barely reacted. His focus had already shifted. The board spun again. Height waited. The machine beeped. Two names appeared. Naruto Uzumaki versus Kiba Inuzuka. A grin spread across Kiba's face instantly. Well, looks like I get the loudmouth. Akamaru barked excitedly from Kiba's hood. Naruto stepped forward slowly. But as he moved, something strange happened. For just a fraction of a second, the lights above the arena dimmed. Not enough for anyone to notice clearly. But Shikamaru saw it. And more importantly, he saw Naruto's shadow move. Not stretch. Not shift. Move. Independently. Like something inside it had blinked awake. Shikamaru's eyes narrowed. That's not possible. Below, Naruto stepped into the arena. Across from him, Kiba cracked his knuckles confidently. Don't take this personally, Naruto. I'm gonna wipe the floor with you. Naruto didn't respond. His mind was elsewhere. Listening. Feeling. Something in the darkness beneath his feet was stirring again. Waiting. Hungry. And this time, Naruto could feel it too. The real battle was about to begin. Chapter 5, Shadows and Fong. The arena floor smelled faintly of dust and iron. Naruto stood across from Kiba Inuzuka while the spectators leaned over the balcony rails above. The massive circular chamber buzzed with quiet anticipation. Kiba cracked his knuckles and grinned, sharp and confident. Don't take this the wrong way, he said, stretching his shoulders. But you're the easiest opponent here. Akamaru poked his small head out from Kiba's jacket and barked in agreement. Naruto scratched his cheek absent-mindedly. He wasn't listening very closely. Something else had his attention. Something beneath him. The shadows on the arena floor were normal again. Flat, quiet, harmless. But Naruto could still feel the strange pull inside them. The sensation was faint, like a distant memory trying to surface. The same instinct that had moved his hands in the forest stirred again. Kiba crouched. All right, Akamaru, let's end this quick. Akamaru leapt down. Hayate coughed lightly from the edge of the arena. Begin. Kiba moved instantly. Man-beast clone. A puff of smoke burst around Akamaru, and the small dog transformed into a perfect duplicate of Kiba. Two Kibas now charged forward at once, claws outstretched. Naruto blinked. Oh right, he was supposed to fight. The first strike came fast. One Kiba lunged low while the other swiped high. Naruto barely leaned back in time, claws grazing his jacket. The second attack came immediately after. Fang over Fang. Both Kibas spun into twin drills of tearing claws and teeth. Naruto jumped sideways. The spinning attack carved a trench across the arena floor where he had stood. Dust exploded outward. Kiba skidded to a halt and smirked. What's wrong? Too slow. Naruto brushed dirt from his sleeve. His mind felt strangely calm. In the past, he would have rushed forward recklessly. Now something else was happening. He was watching, measuring, calculating. Kiba darted forward again. Naruto's hands moved. Not consciously, instinctively. His fingers folded into unfamiliar shapes. A sequence of hand signs he had never learned, yet somehow knew. Energy surged through his chakra network. Something in the darkness responded. The shadow beneath Naruto thickened. Then it split. Two shapes burst from the ground like living ink. Large, lean, wolf-like. Black fur made entirely from condensed shadow. Eyes glowing faintly white. The divine dogs. They landed with low snarls that echoed through the arena. For a heartbeat, everything froze. Even Naruto. What? The nearest divine dog turned its head slowly. Then it lunged. And Naruto. He barely twisted away in time. Claws sliced across his cheek. A thin line of blood appeared. Naruto stared at the creature in shock. Oh, the dogs weren't listening to him. They weren't controlled. They were wild, untamed. The second dog launched itself toward the nearest moving target. Kiba. What they? He barely dove aside as the shadow wolf slammed into the arena floor. Akamaru barked frantically. The divine dogs circled, growling. Their white eyes moved between Naruto and Kiba like predators choosing prey. Naruto wiped the blood from his cheek thoughtfully. Okay, that was a problem. The dogs attacked again. One leapt for Kiba. The other snapped at Naruto. Naruto ducked the bite and sprang backward. Then he moved. Fast. So fast that the audience gasped. Naruto shot upward in a blur of motion. His foot tapped the arena wall, then the ceiling. He landed upside down against the stone roof, chakra gripping the surface effortlessly. The divine dogs skidded to a halt below, confused. Kiba blinked. Where'd he go? All across the arena, people leaned forward. Even Kakashi frowned. Naruto had vanished. 3 people, however, had seen everything. 1. When it comes to a fight, my guy is always on high alert, even if it is 2 babies fighting over a piece of candy. Guy's eyes widened with excitement. Then he broke into a proud grin. Such youthful strength. Nearby, the third Hokage chuckled quietly. He had tracked Naruto's movement perfectly. 2. The third Hokage has learned to never underestimate Naruto and to keep a close eye on him when he is near unless he wants to accidentally end up in one of his pranks. The old man smiled to himself while remembering how Naruto once tricked him into wearing pink robes. He still didn't know how Naruto did that one. On the opposite balcony, Hinata Hyuga followed Naruto's movement easily with her pale eyes. Her cheeks turned bright red. 3. Hinata has been spying on Naruto for years and has learned how to track him, which has made tracking other people much easier. She blushed at the thought. Down in the arena, the divine dogs prowled restlessly.
Kibas punin circles.
Where did he go? Even Kakashi narrowed his visible eye. Then, Guy leaned slightly toward him. Look up, Kakashi. Kakashi blinked. He did, and there Naruto was, standing upside down on the ceiling like it was perfectly normal. Kiba followed Kakashi's gaze. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Naruto sighed. Sasuke crossed his arms on the balcony, irritated. Two different thoughts crossed their minds simultaneously. Sasuke was annoyed because he hadn't noticed Naruto's movement, and because someone had just revealed his teammate's hiding spot. Naruto was annoyed because his element of surprise was gone. The element of surprise was necessary for a prankster, but just mildly useful for a master of the art. Kiba cracked his knuckles again. "Get down here." Naruto shrugged. "Why?" Below them, the divine dogs continued stalking. One lunged at Kiba again. "Hey!" Kiba rolled aside. The fight turned chaotic quickly. The shadow wolves chased Kiba relentlessly while Naruto remained calmly on the ceiling. Minutes passed. Kiba grew tired. Akamaru struggled to keep up. Eventually, one of the divine dogs tackled him. He hit the ground hard. Height raised his hand. Kiba can no longer continue. The match ended. The divine dogs dissolved back into shadow. Naruto dropped lightly from the ceiling. He scratched his cheek again. Well, that was weird. Later, in the hallway outside the arena, Naruto leaned against the wall. The scratch on his cheek still stung. A quiet voice spoke behind him. "En Naruto." He turned. Hinata stood there holding a small jar. Her face was bright red. "I brought healing ointment." Naruto blinked. "Oh, thanks." She carefully dabbed the ointment onto the scratch. Naruto smiled warmly. "I appreciate it." Hinata nearly fainted. The remaining matches passed quickly. Shino defeated Zaku easily. Kankuro beat Misumi through deception. Temari overwhelmed Tenten. Then came the final match. Gaara of the Sand versus Rock Lee. The arena grew silent as the two stepped forward. Even Naruto felt the tension. Something about Gaara made the air feel colder. Lee bowed respectfully. Gaara didn't move. Up on the balcony, Guy folded his arms proudly. His student was about to show the world what true effort looked like. Naruto leaned against the railing, watching carefully, because something told him this fight would be unforgettable. Chapter 6. The Weight of Effort. The arena felt different. The air was thicker now, charged with anticipation that seemed to hum beneath the stone walls. Word had spread quickly through the gathered genin and jonin alike. This next fight mattered. Not because it would determine advancement, but because everyone could feel something important was about to happen. Rock Lee stepped into the arena first. The green jumpsuit caught the light as he walked forward with measured confidence. His posture straight, his expression calm. Every step echoed faintly across the arena floor. Across from him, Gaara of the Sand descended slowly from the balcony. The gourd on his back creaked softly as he moved. Silence followed him like a shadow. No green, no greeting, just cold, empty eyes. Up above, Naruto leaned against the railing, arms folded as he watched the two fighters take their positions. He tilted his head slightly. "Hey Lee." The green-clad shinobi looked up. Naruto met his eyes across the distance and spoke plainly. "Give me something worth watching, or don't waste my time." Some genin nearby blinked in surprise, but Lee only smiled. His grin was bright and sincere. "I will give it my best and then some, Naruto." Naruto nodded once. He respected Rock Lee, not just because Lee had rushed to defend Sakura in the forest when no one else did, but because Lee had done something Naruto had found deeply satisfying. He had knocked Sasuke flat on his ass. That earned a man respect. Below, Height raised a hand weakly. "Begin." For a moment, nothing happened. Lee stood perfectly still. Gaara didn't move. Then Lee blurred forward. The arena floor cracked under the force of his first step. Gasps rippled across the balcony. Lee's speed was astonishing. His kick came from the side. A sharp, snapping strike aimed for Gaara's head. The sand moved instantly. A shield rose from the gourd without Gaara even lifting a finger. Lee's foot slammed into it. Thud. The impact shook the arena floor. Gaara didn't react. Lee flipped backward lightly, landing several meters away. His eyes narrowed. "So it's true," he murmured. "Your sand protects you automatically." Gaara's voice came out quiet and emotionless. "My mother protects me." Lee moved again. Faster this time. A barrage of kicks and punches hammered against the sand shield from every angle. Each strike thundered like a drumbeat across the arena. Boom! 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 The sand blocked everything. Lee backflipped away again, breathing slightly harder now. Up above, Naruto leaned forward. Interesting. Very interesting. Lee wasn't slowing down. If anything, he was warming up. Gaara raised one hand lazily. Sand surged across the arena floor, rushing toward Lee like a living wave. Lee leapt, flipped, twisted through the air like a dancer. Every movement was precise, every landing perfectly balanced. The sand chased him relentlessly. Naruto's eyes sharpened. He could see it now. Lee's movements weren't just fast. They were practiced, refined. Every step the result of endless repetition. Gaara frowned faintly. The sand still hadn't touched him. Lee landed again and removed the orange leg weights strapped around his ankles. He looked up toward the balcony. Guy-sensei. Might Guy stood tall. A proud smile spread across his face. You may remove them. Lee nodded. The weights dropped. They struck the arena floor with a deafening crash. The stone shattered beneath them. Everyone in the arena froze. Those were weights. Lee vanished. Not moved. Vanished. Even Jonin eyes struggled to track him. Naruto's lips curled slightly. Now this was worth watching. Lee appeared behind Gaara. A kick slammed into the sand shield with incredible force. Crack. For the first time, the sand lagged behind. Lee attacked again. And again. And again. A relentless storm of blows rained down on Gaara from every direction. Gaara's eyes widened slightly. Lee's speed had surpassed the sand's reaction time. A final kick struck Gaara's jaw. The sand shinobi lifted off the ground. Lee appeared above him instantly. Lotus! His arms wrapped around Gaara midair. They spun downward together. First gate, second gate, third gate, fourth gate. Green energy exploded around Lee's body as the inner gates opened one after another. The sheer force of his chakra tore the air apart. Naruto's eyes widened slightly. That was dangerous. Lee's final technique slammed Gaara into the arena floor with cataclysmic force. The stone cratered outward in a massive shockwave. Dust swallowed the arena. Silence followed. When the dust cleared, Lee stood breathing heavily. Gaara lay motionless in the crater. The crowd erupted. Then, sand moved. Gaara rose slowly. His armor had cracked, but his body remained unharmed. Lee's eyes widened. His legs trembled now. He had pushed his body beyond its limits. Gaara lifted one hand. The sand surged violently. A massive crushing wave of sand shot toward Lee. Guy stepped forward instantly, ready to jump. Kakashi's hand caught his shoulder. Wait! Lee's body shook, but he moved. With sheer stubborn determination, he forced his broken legs to step sideways. The sand missed. Lee stood there, injured, bleeding, but standing tall. I will not lose, he said hoarsely. Gaara's eyes burned with quiet rage. More sand rose. Killing blow. The arena froze. Then, a thin, invisible line passed through the sand. The entire attack split apart instantly. Cleanly, like paper cut by a razor. Everyone turned. Naruto stood casually against the railing, hand still extended slightly. Silence fell over the arena. Even Gaara paused. Naruto spoke calmly. The match is already over. His voice carried easily across the arena. Attacking an unconscious, fatally injured shinobi during a fight that isn't serious. His eyes narrowed slightly. Is beyond cowardly. Hayate dropped down into the arena quickly. He checked Lee. His brow lifted. Incredible. He looked up at the balcony. Rock Lee is standing. The arena fell silent. While unconscious, shock rippled through the spectators. Lee stood there, body broken, eyes closed, yet his stance remained firm, unyielding. The willpower of Rock Lee stunned everyone present. Even Naruto. For the first time that day, Naruto smiled with genuine respect. Chapter 7. A Tale of Two Battles After the Echo of One. The arena still carried the echo of Rock Lee's fight. Even after the medical team had carried him away. Even after the sand had been swept and the crater roughly patched. Even after the murmurs of the crowd began again. The feeling remained. Something monumental had just happened. Rock Lee versus Gaara had been a clash of titans. Raw willpower colliding with monstrous power. Every shinobi in the stadium had felt it in their bones. And now, the next match began. Hayate coughed weakly into his fist. Next match. Haruno Sakura versus Yamanaka Ino. The energy of the arena died instantly. Not gradually. Instantly. The crowd that had leaned forward during Lee's fight now leaned back with audible sighs. Down in the arena, Sakura and Ino stepped forward. Both looked determined. Both looked nervous. Both were still breathing the same heavy air that Lee had filled with his impossible resolve. Naruto leaned against the balcony railing and stared down at the arena. He blinked once. Then slowly rested his chin in his palm. "This is going to be painful." Sasuke said nothing beside him. Below, Sakura and Ino rushed each other. They exchanged punches. Clumsy ones. Their footwork lacked refinement. Their timing was off. A few basic substitutions. A few sloppy taijutsu exchanges. The crowd tried to care. They really did. But the comparison was impossible to ignore. Moments earlier they had watched a shinobi open the 8 gates and challenge a monster. Now they watched 2 academy graduates slap each other. Whispers started spreading through the stands. Then louder ones. A Chunin examiner in the audience muttered, "After that last fight, this feels like watching toddlers wrestle." Another shinobi snorted. "Battle of gods followed by a battle of babies." Someone else laughed. Typical kunoichi. More voices joined. "They're weak. They always are. Maybe the exam should separate the women. Save everyone the trouble." Up on the balcony, Tenten's jaw tightened. Her fingers curled into fists. Across from her, Tamari's green eyes narrowed dangerously. Neither woman appreciated what they were hearing. Down below, Sakura and Ino continued fighting. They tried. They really did. But every exchange looked smaller, slower, weaker, compared to what had come before. Eventually both girls collapsed from exhaustion after trading simultaneous punches. Hayate stepped forward. Double knockout. No one cheered. Polite clapping echoed half-heartedly through the arena. Even Sakura and Ino looked embarrassed as they were carried out. Up on the balcony, the mockery continued. "Pathetic. Waste of time. Women just don't have the strength for real fights." That was the last straw. Hayate coughed again. Next match. Tamari of the Sand versus Tenten of the Leaf. Both girls stepped forward at the same time. Tamari rested her massive war fan across her shoulder. Tenten adjusted the scroll strapped to her arm. They looked at each other and grinned. Finally, a chance to shut everyone up. Naruto leaned forward slightly. "Tenten." She glanced up. "You won't win this," Naruto said calmly. "Bad matchup." Tamari's fan specialized in wide-range wind techniques. Tenten's style relied on projectile weapons. Wind destroyed projectiles. It was simple. Tenten cut him off immediately. Not every female on the planet is as weak and pathetic as those two. Her eyes flicked briefly toward the medical area where Sakura and Ino had been taken. The words hit harder than she intended. Up on the balcony, both girls stiffened. Shame washed across their faces. Naruto simply rolled his eyes. He didn't argue. Beside him, Sasuke surprised everyone. He looked toward Sakura and Ino. "Neither of you are useless," he said flatly. They blinked. "You just haven't found your strength yet." His gaze returned to the arena. "That takes time." The words weren't comforting, but they were honest. And strangely enough, they helped. Below, the fight began. Tenten attacked immediately. Her scroll snapped open. Weapons exploded into the air. Kunai, shuriken, spike chains. Dozens of blades filled the sky. They rained down toward Temari like a steel storm. Temari didn't even move her feet. She opened her fan. One casual swing. A wall of wind roared across the arena. The entire barrage reversed direction instantly. Metal screamed through the air as Tenten's own weapons scattered violently across the stadium walls. Tenten barely dodged. Her eyes widened. Temari smiled. Oh, this is going to be quick. The second swing came harder. The wind struck Tenten like a hammer. She crashed into the arena wall. The third swing lifted her completely off the ground. She tried to recover midair. Temari didn't give her the chance. The war fan opened fully. A massive gust of cutting wind launched Tenten upward. She rose helplessly into the air. Then gravity took over. Her falling body dropped directly toward the massive iron spine of Temari's war fan. A brutal impact. The crowd winced collectively. Tenten went limp instantly. Silence followed. Temari lowered the fan slowly. She had not taken a single scratch. Hayate was just beginning to move when Naruto moved first. He appeared above the arena in a blur. Then landed lightly on the wide surface of Temari's war fan. The massive weapon didn't even wobble beneath his weight. Tenten's unconscious body fell. Naruto caught her effortlessly. His feet settled against the fan's surface with perfect balance. For a moment, no one spoke. Naruto looked down at Temari. Not angry, not shouting, just staring. His eyes quietly daring her to try something like that again. Temari froze. Naruto finally looked up toward the Hokage. With a bored expression, he said, "I guess I'm the referee now, huh?" He shifted Tenten slightly in his arms. "There's a time and a place for killing promising shinobi." His voice remained calm. "This is neither of them." A faint sigh escaped the third Hokage. "Naruto," the old man spoke gently, "you will not interfere in the next matches." His eyes sharpened slightly. "If you do, you will be disqualified." Naruto stared at him for a moment, then shrugged. "Fine." He stepped off Temari's fan. Not with chakra, not with any visible technique. Just a sudden burst of pure physical speed. He vanished from the fan and landed beside the arena wall in a single motion. Several jonin immediately noticed something strange. There had been no chakra involved. Just raw movement. Naruto walked toward the exit with Tenten still in his arms. He muttered loudly enough for every trained shinobi present to hear. "Kakashi should have been disqualified for exposing my location." Several jonin coughed awkwardly. Guy burst out laughing, and Kakashi slowly lowered his book. "Fair point."
That's it for today. Remember to show your support to the creator of this story if you enjoyed it. If you would like more parts of the story to be uploaded, leave a comment and subscribe to get notified when the story continues. Bye-bye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.